Hi. Ashtanga yoga to me has been so transformative. It has been an epiphany in my life. It has been something that I was just blown away by it when I first hit the mat and did it. I had never been taught yoga like that. Now, one of the main components that for me was the most freeing and enlightening was the concept of movement with breath. This, I've been to many yoga classes and very, 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 very few talk about the breath while you are in class. Now, I don't think I'd been to one that tied in the breath with the movement. Like those two things just never had been combined together. But for Ashtanga yoga, you'll find that movement and breath are one and the same. That if you're breathing, you're moving, unless you're holding a specific posture. And to me, that was like the missing link for me. And so that is one of the main components for Ashtanga yoga. But the second component are the stomach locks. Now, the stomach locks can be somewhat difficult to teach, um, especially because it's an internal thing, and some people just don't have access to those muscles. But we try to teach it in a way that you can sort of understand how to engage those muscles, but don't beat yourself up if you cannot access them to begin with. Okay, a lot of people have pelvic floor issues, a lot of people have pelvic floor disruptions, and those are things that you know it's just going to be very difficult. And then the other component of it is, training your eyes to look in a specific location. And this is where the meditative part comes in, where you are focusing on an object, but you're not focusing on it. And we'll talk more about all these concepts in a second. I just want to tell you where we're going with this video. And then finally, you have the asana. You have the actual physical movement. You have the actual postures. You have the breath, and you have all these things that are coming together while you're moving. So, those four things to me comprise of this entire system. Now, again, like I really just want to stress 100% that you do not have to get this perfectly. I've been doing this for a few years now, and sometimes my eyes are wandering all over the place. Oh, look what she's doing. Oh, look what they're doing. Okay, I got to go back to my pose. Oh, I got to come back to my breath because I forget. It's on a day-to-day basis on what you're capable of doing and what you're working towards. So just take this information and understand that I'll keep reminding you over and over and over and over again about these things when we're doing our practice, okay? So let's talk about the breath. The breath that we use in Ashtanga Yoga is called Ujjayi Breath. Ujjayi Breath is a breath that comes from the back of the throat. So normally when we're breathing with the front of our mouth, with the front of our nose, and it sounds, very nasally or through the mouth. So you'll hear, you'll even see my nose move because you're pulling with the muscles of the nose to get, you're focusing that energy right there. What Ujjayi breath is your chest breathing, and you're contracting your throat muscles very gently, okay? It is not a huge sound that you're going to be making. It's not something that is going to be, audible from across the room. It should be heard by your neighbor on the next mat, or not your neighbor next door, because that would be too much. But if you're practicing with somebody, the person who's next to you should be able to hear it, but the person two people down probably won't hear it because they're doing their own breath. So this is what it sounds like, okay? Okay, so Ujjayi Breath. How do we get there? How do we do it? My teacher taught me this way, so I'm gonna cue it, and you guys can follow along with me. You guys can just hear the cue, see if it makes sense to you. It might not make sense to you, but try it, see if it works for you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna inhale for a count of 3. We're gonna exhale for a count of 3. This is from your mouth, so you'll inhale with your mouth open, exhale with your mouth open. We'll do that again. Inhale with your mouth open and exhale with your mouth open. On the third inhale, we're going to inhale with your mouth open, and we're going to start to exhale with the mouth open, and then about 1/3 of the way, we're going to close our mouth, and that's automatically going to constrict the throat, and you're going to try to hold that, and it'll make a noise, like sort of like an ocean sound, okay? And then we'll do that 2 more times. So you have 2 times normal breath with the mouth open, 3 times with an exhale Ujjayi, and then on the third one, we're gonna hold that constriction of the throat and try to inhale through the nose again. So we're gonna try to incorporate the inhale and exhale through that at that point, okay? So don't worry if you don't understand. We'll do it a couple of times, okay? So we're gonna start. Inhale with the mouth open. Exhale with the mouth open. 2 more times. Inhale with the mouth open. Exhale with the mouth open. Last time. Inhale, mouth open. Exhale, mouth open. Okay, we're going to incorporate the exhale. Inhale, mouth open. Exhale, mouth open. And close your mouth. Inhale. Exhale, open mouth. Close the mouth. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, mouth open. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, try to keep it. Inhale. Exhale. Keep the mouth closed. Keep the throat constricted. Inhale. One more time. And now just come back to your normal breath. If you didn't get it, don't worry. It's a work in progress. It's something that we'll keep practicing over and 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 over again. Okay, so this is not something that you have to do. If you get lightheaded, if you think this is hurting my throat, don't do it. Okay, it's that simple. Don't do it. Okay, but try. Keep trying. Come back to it. It's a muscle. It's something that you need to work. It's something you need to develop. It's something that is going to come over time. So don't worry about it now. Just practice, okay? The Ujjayi breath. And again, if you are making it really loud, it's unnecessary and can damage your throat. So let's, with like the waves in the ocean. Okay, so that's the first part, is the breath. Okay, so the second part that is really important in Ashtanga Yoga is the stomach locks. The stomach locks there's 2 of them. It's Uddiyana Bandha and Mula Bandha. Okay, Uddiyana Bandha is quite possibly the easier one to explain. So let's start with that. Okay, so I'm gonna come to my knees here so that you guys can see my stomach. Yay, every woman's dream. So, here is my stomach. Yay. So, this is my belly button. About 3 fingers below my belly button is where I'm going to find my lower abdomen. So, this area right here. Okay, let's pretend like I have some abs. So, right around here. So, when we are doing our breathing, this area we would like to hold it in. Okay? What we don't want to do, we don't want to hold it in like this and suck everything in, because then you can't breathe. Okay? So 3 fingers below this area right here. We're just going to try to knit this muscle together. So these muscles right here, they come in this way. So you're trying to bring them in. So when you hold this in very gently, your chest is going to expand and contract more when you breathe. So it's chest breathing, okay? So we're just going to slightly contract. We'll put your fingers on your lower belly, okay? Contract it just a little bit, and now breathe. And you'll see there's more movement in my chest now because I'm holding it. Whereas if I'm not holding it, you can't really tell my chest is moving. Like that is, you can't see it moving because the surface area that's being dispersed is through my stomach, through my entire chest cavity. So if I hold it, everything comes up. Okay, so now let's incorporate those two things together. So you're holding the stomach in, again, not like this, but you're holding it in very gently, like if you had like a soft ball that you just squish it just a little bit, just, very softly. You don't have to okay? Just very gently. And now let's try our Ujjayi breath, okay? Okay, great. So, again, if you don't get it, don't worry about it. This is a skill that is going to come over time. There are days when I practice and I'm like, okay, Uddiyana Bandha. 90 minutes later, I'm like, I just did not do it at all. Trust me, it happens, okay? Don't worry about it. But I will remind you, knit the lower belly in, expand the chest more, okay? The second stomach lock is called Mula Bandha. Mula Bandha is one of the most difficult things to explain because it involves your genitals, okay? Uddiyana Bandha is easy, it's your stomach. Mula Bandha is like the pelvic floor. So there's a lot going on there. Now, nobody should be checking your Mula Bandha while you're practicing, okay? I mean, honestly, nobody should be checking your Uddiyana Bandha either because that's a very vulnerable position. But there's some teachers, they think they have the liberties. But Mula Bandha is an internal lock, okay? So there's a few ways that I've been described this, and to me, the most easiest way to think about this is it is the muscle that prevents you from urinating. Okay, so you have your anal cavity, you have your vaginal cavity, or for men, your testes. You can contract your anus, you can contract your vaginal wall, but somewhere in the middle there, that is Mula Bandha, okay? So people will explain it as the Kegels exercise. And I just want to say here, I am not a doctor, but, I have a kid, and when she was younger and I was in the bathroom and she's banging on the door and she needed something and, you just gotta go, so you gotta stop yourself from peeing because you're hearing the kid screaming and all this thing is happening. You stop yourself from urinating. That's it. That's it. Bingo. Right there. That's the muscle. Now, I do not recommend stopping yourself from urinating mid-urination because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a urologist. I don't think it's particularly healthy. But just so that you have an idea about what is going on. Okay? So Kegels exercises are good for it, for men and women. And so I've also heard it described as, for women, it is on top of the cervix, and for men, it is the perineum. So it's in two different locations for men and for women. Now, With that said, one of the easiest way to access it is through contraction of the anus or contraction of the vaginal wall or the perineum, the Kegels exercises, but tapping into it using those methods to begin is a great way to start. Okay. Now, for the practice itself, you don't clamp onto your mula bandha and hold on for dear life for 90 minutes or however long your practice is. What it is a sort of valve that allows you to tap into your lower abdomen, your core, release, the psoas muscle, and really get into, more muscles that will help lift you up. And you'll see what I'm talking about as you get into the practice. But just understand that, when I'm talking about your core, I don't mean the exercise core, which is from your ribs to your thighs. That is like your exercise core. What I'm talking about with your core is very specifically Uddiyana Bandha, Mula Bandha. Okay, the two stomach locks. So those two combined are going to allow you to get further into postures. They're going to allow you to be stronger in some of your postures, and you'll see how that works even with our first pose. So those are the first two things. You have breath and you have your bandhas. Now let's get into the Drishti. Drishti is where you train your eyes to focus when you are doing this practice. Each pose, each movement has a place where you're supposed to be looking. Sometimes you're like crossing your eyes, sometimes you're looking up at your third eye, sometimes you're gazing off like into space, into yonder, beyond your hand. And so it's a way to be able to train your mental focus. So I know some of you have heard, or maybe you haven't heard, if you are feeling sad, just smile, because your body reacts and it'll think, oh, I'm supposed to be happy. So it gets happy just from smiling. Like, you might not have necessarily experienced something worth smiling over, but your body, you kind of like trick your body into being like, oh, I'm supposed to be happy because clearly I'm smiling. Or, just how doing something for the body actually affects your mental state of mind. Anyways, so so what actually you're doing when you're focusing is you're getting into a meditative state so that you can focus on the other two things, like your breath, your bandhas, and your asana. You're able to tune into what's going on inside of me. Where am I able to feel the work? Where am I able to feel, ease? What am I gaining from this? Okay. You're also able to tell from your eye movement where you are that day. If your eyesight is going, you can tell. You take that information with you throughout the day, because you're just like, okay, today, I don't have a lot of balance. Okay, today I am, I'm curious about other people. I'm looking externally. And then some days you are like, boom, laser focused right on, your thumb, and you're like, yeah, I got this. So you take that information with you through the day. Okay, you take this information and you incorporate it. You're like, okay, I need to be more gentle with myself because I am just all over the place. Or, you know what, today I have a huge capacity to get things done because I'm super focused. Let me hone in on that. And so you'll see that each pose has a place for you to look. You will constantly look at that. And if you find your eyesight moving, come back to it. And that's it. Okay? When I say looking in a direction, what does that mean? So there are some focal points that are like, okay, look at the tip of your nose. Now, looking at the tip of your nose will make you think, oh, I'm just gonna be a little bit cross-eyed. But that's not necessarily it. It's like about you have this imaginary point that you're gonna be looking at 6 inches in front of it, and that is looking towards your nose, but you're looking at this point, okay? Your eyes soften, and that's where your eyes are focused towards. Sometimes you're looking towards your big toe and you're like, oh, look at my big toe. Oh, look, man, I need to trim my nails. Oh, I need to do something. Like, but you're not really looking at your toe, because that's just giving you something to think about. What we're trying to do is come internally. So instead of looking at your toe, you're looking in the direction of the toe. But like if you had x-ray vision, what would be 6 inches beyond that? That's what you're like training your eyes towards. So even though it's in the direction of your toe or your belly button or your nose, like your eyes are in that direction, but you're turning inward with your third eye. Okay, so there's that. So now we have Drishti, we have bandhas, we have breath. Okay, we're done. No. Okay, so now we have to talk about the asana. The asana themselves are challenging, but they're not so challenging that they become inaccessible to people who have injuries, from people who are young, people who are older, people like this should be for everybody, okay? And that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to make this accessible. So, what we're going to do right now is we're going to learn to tie the breath and the movement together, because I would like for you, before we get into our sun salutations, for you to understand what does that mean, tying the breath and the movement together. Okay, so we're going to come back to our Ujjayi breath. And our Ujjayi breath is, again, it's important, but it's not necessary for you to be able to do this exercise, okay? So all we're going to do is we're just going to come to a seated position. Your arms are going to be by your side. What we're going to do is we're going to inhale and lift our arms above our head. And then we're going to exhale and bring our arms down. Okay, so we'll inhale and exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Keep going. Inhale up and exhale down. 2 more times. Inhale and exhale. Last round. Inhale and exhale. Come back to your breath. So, what that was not. Okay. The inhale really ties into the breath. So think of a balloon. If you inhale and exhale. Okay. So that's really important to understand, that you're moving, you're breathing. And if you're breathing, you're moving. Okay. So in my example, I was moving too fast for my breath. Okay. So I want to slow it down. Okay, the full inhale takes the entire trip up. One more time. Come back to your breath. So what this was also not was okay. The breath is too fast for the movement. There is this notion of controlling the breath. okay? But not only controlling the breath, controlling the movement to match the breath. So if you know that the movement is large, you will control the breath to make sure that your breath is long enough for you to be able to get there. And as I mentioned before, it is not necessarily that you have to get this perfect, okay? But what you're moving towards is understanding that your breath is tied to your movement, okay? Like the waves of the ocean, okay? So the wave comes in, it doesn't just stay there and wait for another inhale. It goes, and again. So, and for Ashtanga Yoga, you'll find that a lot of the sequence, a lot of it, there are very few exceptions, that the inhales are coordinated with upward movement and outward movement, okay? And the exhales are inward and down, compacting, making smaller. Because think, you're exhaling, your lungs are coming in, okay? They're coming in. So just if you try to take that as a guiding principle, then, memorizing later on might become a little bit easier for you. So those are the things that I really wanted to get through today for your first lesson. So remember, you have the breath, Ujjayi Breath. You have your bandhas, which is Uddiyana Bandha, which is below your belly button, and Mula Bandha, which is inside of you. And then you have your Drishti, which is your focal points, where you're going to train your eyes. And then you have the idea of the vinyasa, which is bringing together the movement and the breath. Okay? So with that, the next video is going to be on Surya Namaskara A, and we will learn about some salutes to the sun. All right? I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, just drop them down below. I'll do my best to get to your questions if I can. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer. Okay? So like, subscribe. I hope this was useful to you. And we try to keep this content for free. So if you would like to make a donation, I have a Patreon listed down below. All right? Thank you. Love you. Bye.